Welcome to TV9 Digital. I'm Karthikeya Sharma, and in this special edition, in On Point with Karthikeya, I'm joined with Jayant Chaudhary, the National President of Rashtriya Lok Dal. Thank you very much for making time for us. And let me quickly begin this interview by asking you, how do you position your party in the forthcoming Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls now, since entire responsibility now is on your shoulders?
Well, I'm now president of the party, and even now I'm not used to being called president because, of course, my father was a father figure for me as well and for everyone in our party. So it's a tough time taking on responsibility. Of course, I am not my father, and I will have my own way of thinking and processing information and taking decisions. So, I mean, right now we're in the process of, in a sense, rebuilding our party. So I'm giving attention to two basic things. The first is to strengthen our booth level structure. We have largely been an issue-based, personality-driven party. And therefore, when we are faced with, say, the machinery of a BJP, which is a well-oiled election machinery where the cadre is there, where they are very motivated, the booth level worker knows how to communicate, how to counter opposition. We need to impart the same level of training to our people. So that's the first aspect. Second is to try and rebuild ties with the old traditional leaders of Lok Dal who worked with my grandfather and my father, as well as expand the base. We are largely a party that has stood for agrarian issues, farmers' issues. And while that remains, we do need to get people from different sections of civil society to engage with us.
Jayant, you said that your party is all, built on multiple issues, and the primary issue in between is the agrarian issue. That's the foundation. But how do you see your party in context of the polarized electorate in Uttar Pradesh?
I think there's a time for things, and the time when the polarization theme has worked effectively for BJP, but the time for that is past. And the reason I say that is because the same people who would come to me as well and say that, there is still tension, people are not willing to sit with each other. And if you're going to give a candidate, only give a candidate from a particular community. Today, this very same people who are affiliated to a party are coming and telling me that this time, those feelings are not running high at all. This time we are farmers. We've realized, people in our village have realized that you can fight on those lines afterwards. Right now, the important thing is that we need to give a strong message to the government that whether it's Haryana or Punjab or Uttarakhand or Uttar Pradesh, at least in northern India where there has been an affinity, there have been farmer movements where people in this larger region have engaged with each other, that we are one. So I think that the whole issue of the farmers' agitation, the deep resonance that issue has with our region, people in our region, is helping us rebuild those ties.
You have used the word farmers, but unfortunately in the politics of 1990s and last 30 years, all the leaders who claimed that they were leaders of the farmers actually became the leaders of caste, barring late Prime Minister Chaudhary Charan Singh, who was truly a farmer's leader who would cut across caste from Punjab to Uttar Pradesh. So keeping in mind that the issue of farmers gets dissected by caste, how do you position your party?
Well, that's a social reality. I'm not saying we can deny caste. We have to be mindful of giving representation in our platforms to people who don't have that representation or access, who feel that they are behind, they're not part of the mainstream. But at the same time, caste cannot be your sole criteria. So in fact, Chaudhary Charan Singh ji used to talk about Jati Todo. He used to hold programs with the sole focus of getting people to start talking about these issues. Similarly, we are now holding a program called Bhaichara Zindabad, where we are getting people from civil society. They don't have to be politicians, but various colors, various communities, various different belief systems in one program. And they're talking about, it's a cultural program. They're talking about the politics, they're talking about the history. And it's a way of reconciliation in some measure. So I think as a party, it's important to have that imagery as well. politics is about emotions, it's about issues, it's also about these moments in time. I think right now it's a very strong moment where if we go and we say we don't want to remind you of what happened in Muzaffarnagar in 2013, we look into the future, we want to build a progressive Uttar Pradesh, we want to talk about employment, we want to talk about farmers' issues, let's talk about bhaichara, let's not shy away from that. I think openly when you talk about these issues, it's getting resonance.
Jayant, you said that, Chaudhary Saab used to hold these programs called Jati Todo. Even, Ambedkar had these programs, Jati Todo Sammelans. You are saying that, you have started a program called Bhaichara Zindabad. But if you look at the language used by many leaders in Uttar Pradesh, it seems that Hindutva has emerged as a new umbrella. Even Mayawati talks about sort of a Brahmin Sammelan, but she starts from Ayodhya. There's nothing wrong in spirituality being part of your daily life, but the language has shifted considerably.
It's probably the new normal. It is, the political narrative shifts with time. And it's for people to decide. For me, at a personal level, what my religion is, what my belief or value system is, I feel it should not interfere in my functioning as a public representative. I don't need to wear it on my sleeve. It definitely should not help me catch votes. Because at the end of the day, everyone then bears allegiance to the Constitution of India, who is supposed to treat everyone equally. So if I am to say that I'm going to be a leader for Jats, and then I get sworn in, and then I can't work on that pattern, I can't really just single out Jats and do things for them, can I? And neither can any of these other leaders. So this is just about representation and about presenting yourself to your community as a savior, as someone who will fight for them. So therefore, I don't understand why a majority community actually needs to have this feeling of fear stoked up.
Are you going to fight elections this time?
In a sense, the campaign is that the majority is under attack and we must organize ourselves. So, how long will that card play?
Jayant, are you going to contest election this time?
Well, that's I've already at my young age of sprightly age of 42, I have contested a few elections. So I don't know. It's something I'm gonna mull over. It's not on my mind right now, because if my father was there, if we had an effective party structure, if we were in a position of strength, then I could have looked at it differently. Right now, I feel that I have a deep responsibility. I need to create a viable platform. We need to perform well in these elections, and I'm going to have to be traveling really from Saharanpur to Agra. So just the logistics of it is something I'm yet to work on.
So you are saying that because of the now organizational responsibility, which rests primarily on your shoulders, and the fact that you will have to, if I may use the word, rebuild or build it again and build it in your own perspective, you would like to devote more time to the organization than to your constituency?
I think that's what I'm trying to say, that does represent what my feelings are at this point. Like I said, this is a very big platform that I have a responsibility towards, and I'm trying to re-energize it. And I'm not looking at elections or this one assembly election to really prove myself. I'm in it for the long term. And it's not as if I want something or I want a piece of the pie. So I just want it to be a good election for us, and we can change the government and bring in new standards of governance in my state.
You said that you can change the government. Do you think that Yogi Adityanath is so vulnerable?
I think everyone in power should be vulnerable. They must face hard questions, because the fact of the matter is UP is one of the most backward states. In 4.5 years, he's not transformed the state. Forget what the hoardings in Delhi or maybe all parts of the nation are saying or claiming. You have one photo of Modi ji and you have the strong image of Yogi ji walking. They're presenting him as a man of action. But frankly, he's not taken action on some of the largest core issues, the developmental issues of Uttar Pradesh. Right now, our state claims, for instance, in COVID, that only 22,756 people died. They claim no one died because of lack of access to oxygen. In 2017, the state said in 14 days, we're going to pay sugarcane farmers. Out of 94 private mills, only 22 have paid what is due for them. 2 months after mills have shut down in the season of 2021, 8,000 crores is due from the private sector itself. The cooperative sector is also lagging. So these are some of the things that people are watching. So there is, I mean, the amount of money being spent on marketing, on presentation, on showcasing Yogi ji. We held investment summits. How much real money came in? Why are there no jobs? Government departments are not able to fill their vacancies. They had promised that 100 days, all vacancies will be filled. So yes, I think Yogi ji is vulnerable on his COVID response, on farmers' issues, and basic standards of governance. Because what I feel is that Yogi ji's style is he's completely centralized power. Even BJP MLAs are not happy.
But he's the most popular right now Hindu mascot in North India.
Just because I wear orange saffron robes, is that the only criteria really? He may be powerful within the BJP hierarchy, but like I said, what is his style of governance? He's completely centralized power, and he's outsourced it to 2 or 3 bureaucrats. There are people from within the BJP who are sitting within the RSS network, who sit in Lucknow, who decide everything. He doesn't meet his own MLAs. For the first time, if you remember, there were a majority of his MLAs were sitting on dharna against government in a Vidhan Sabha. So that shows that when his own people are not happy with his style of governance, he's not able to take people along. He doesn't take measured decisions. He will just announce a policy without there being preparation for it. Bureaucrats, if you look at them, you talk to them privately, they tell you that it's not working.
Tell me, are you open for alliances, or you think that this time, you're going to expand your outfit in the western part of Uttar Pradesh?
We are talking to Samajwadi. We fought the last election in alliance with them. And of course, given the history of the two parties, the fact that in many senses, we are not two, but a single organization. The culture is the same, the history is the same. And there is an affinity on issues. I think that's the way forward. We are yet to sign on the dotted line. We are yet to sit down and really look at seat by seat. But I think those minor issues can always be sorted out.
Tell me one thing, Mamata, before I conclude the interview, Mamata Banerjee made a sojourn to Delhi 4 days, and she met a lot of leaders. Is it possible to have a front, anti-Modi front, without Congress party? Or you think that, regional parties can work it out?
I don't think we need to have an anti-Modi front. I think we need to have a front which is fronted by ideas and an ideology. And there must be some shared issues, because if we don't do that, then the voters will not give you space. I think it should be, if it's an alliance or if it's a front where we go with our different parties, or it's one single party, whatever the idea is, there needs to be a coherent set of ideas and values that we go to the voter with. Because just because BJP is talking only about one man and the entire government, it appears the whole machinery is driven to market one man, doesn't mean we need to counter the one man. We need to counter the entire BJP government. I think all regional parties are talking to each other. And yes, Mamata ji has definitely got a strong role. Given her credible performance, she's a fighter. She has walked the streets of Calcutta and gone to the hamlets in Bengal. And she's motivated her cadre to fight back. So I think that's a story that every regional party of India is watching. But of course, like you said, your question was based on what Congress's role will be. I think it definitely has an organization pan-India. If they get their leadership question, crisis, whatever you want to call it, sorted, and if they get their cadre motivated, they'll definitely have a role.
Do you feel that the leadership question within the Congress has impacted the entire functioning of the opposition parties, since it's the biggest opposition party?
We're not tied to each other. So it's not that one part of the chain is weak, so entire fabric gets weakened. It's not like that. Some opposition parties are doing very well. For instance, like we just spoke about Mamata's party. And of course, us in Uttar Pradesh are hopeful of a much better performance. But of course, I think it's basically for the Congress to decide. I can't really speak for the Congress. I don't know what's happening within the party.
And the last question, what's the biggest issue in Uttar Pradesh? Is it COVID? Is it development? Is it style of functioning of Yogi Adityanath? Because you said he's vulnerable. What is the basic issue 6 months before the elections?
I think COVID, unfortunately, will be one of the major issues because anyone who watches the health sector and who can understand the way these pandemics function and is looking at government response, we're all predicting that we might well face a third, fourth, and fifth wave. So it's quite likely that this issue will remain a talking point even during elections. But I think largely it's all the issues you mentioned and a whole lot of other issues where, see, people had a lot of faith. They had a lot of hope. They gave a huge majority to the government. It was a historic opportunity on law and order, on governance, on development. I don't think any government has the space that Yogi had. And exactly what has he done? Has he even made one expressway in the state? What is his achievement really? So it's going to be Yogi centric as well. I think people are also upset with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much, Jayant, for making time and speaking to us. So this was the On Point with Kartikeya, the special edition in which Jayant Chaudhary spoke about multiple issues in context of Uttar Pradesh and the sort of vision he has for his party. For more news and other development, keep on watching TV9 Digital. Thank you.